All right, thank you so much for watching the video today. My name is Curtis Young. I've been playing with Sun Valley for quite a while, and I wanted to make this video so that you guitarists playing rhythm for Sun Valley can get a couple of tricks, a few tips, maybe some guidelines on how you're playing. So we'll go over a couple of things first, and then we're going to get into the meat of it after that. The main point of the video, the reason why I wanted to make the video is because I really want you to feel confident in your playing. I want you to know how to play the Sun Valley sound. The leadership, the people that write the music and work really hard to get it to sound the way that it does, have worked really, really hard on making sure that we have a sound, that the guitars have a part, and the keys and the bass and all the pieces can fit together. And I want you to feel confident that you are making that Sun Valley sound and doing your best job to do it. We want to have excellence when we're playing. We're not worried about perfection. We want to give our best, and if we can increase what's happening with your hands on your instrument, then I think that that can help improve that excellence. Not only that, but it helps you feel more confident. It'll help you fit in the mix. We've got a lot of people that have worked on what the parts are, how they should sound, where they should fit in the mix, and it's really important that we get that right mix so that nobody's stepping on toes, so that the sounds come out right, and so that the congregation, when they hear it, isn't distracted, because that's really what it's all about. We're here to lead worship. We want the people in the congregation to experience the sounds that we're making and experience the things that we're doing on the platform, and we want those things to help build up the congregation. We want to bring them to a place where they're worshiping God with music and with their voices, maybe with their hands, hopefully with their heart. And if we're worried about what we're doing with our hands, or where the next chord is, or how we're going to transition from this sound to the next sound, that can take away from that. So we want to minimize that, make it as simple of a process for you to play the parts that you play, so that we can lead worship authentically while we're up on the platform. So we're going to go over a couple of things, a couple of guidelines. These aren't hard and fast rules, but they are things that I think have helped me to be a little more confident when I play, and have helped me to get a better sound out of my instrument. Again, this isn't necessarily the only way to play it, but it's going to fit in most of the time and for most circumstances. So first up, we want to avoid, when we're playing our parts, we want to avoid playing a full bar chord. So think of that F major chord with your first finger all the way across the first fret. That gives lots of opportunities for a string to get squeaky. It might make it hard to transition from that full barred chord to the next bar chord, or the next chord, and we just want to make it a simple, easy process to get from one chord to the next. I think you'll see as we go through the chord shapes that I've put in this presentation, I think it'll make sense why we want to avoid those full bar chords and how we can make the right sounds. Another guideline, this isn't always the case, but it's almost always the case. We don't need to play for a major chord. We don't need to play the third step, the third interval of that chord almost ever. And I'll give some examples as we're going through the chord shapes of what that means. Next, when we're playing, we want to be as open as possible. In other words, if we can play an open string on the guitar at fret 0, let's do that. It's going to add harmonics. It's going to add sound. When we're playing through these full big chords, we want to take up all of the space that we're supposed to. And if we're only playing one or two strings for like a power chord, or if we've accidentally muted more strings than we need to, then that's going to take away from that. And then lastly, as far as when we're playing our rhythm parts, we don't need to capo any higher than the first and the second fret. And again, as I go through the shapes, I hope that that makes sense, why we don't need to do that. We want to have, again, simple transitions, simple movements. We want it to make sense. We don't want it to be a distraction if we're fumbling with the capo trying to get it up to number 3 or number 4, or it gets it out of tune because we have gone back and forth between a couple of different places. We want to minimize that so that we can, again, not be a distraction. We want to do the best to keep the people engaged with the sound and not worried about what's the guy over on the right side with the guitar doing over on the neck. The rhythm guitar can really drive the feeling of the song. The keys can kind of give you the key. The vocals can tell you the song and the words, and they can give you some inflection, and they can, depending on how they're singing, they can give some intensity. But there's nothing quite like our rhythm guitar sound when we're playing the songs that we play that really lets the congregation know where we're at, how we're feeling, where we're at with intensity, and kind of how much oomph we give as a rhythm guitarist really carries through to the rest of the congregation. So long story short, the mix of Sun Valley music really, really, really needs the rhythm guitar. So if you're ever doubtful and wondering if you're just up there to fill a spot on the stage, it's definitely not that. You are a super, super important part of the mix. You're a super important part of the team. And so please feel confident that you are necessary, because you are. I guess one last bit, and this will make more sense as you're playing, so I'll leave it as a little tip. When you're strumming your chords, try to pay attention to what the kick is doing, what the bass player and the drummer are doing. The kick drum is a very powerful sound, and we want to give some tone to that sound so that instead of it being a thud, it is musical. So when you're playing, look at what the bass player is playing, look at what the kick drum is kicking. You might do it with the snare instead to emphasize some percussive things or some timing things. Pay attention to what your drummer is doing. The more often you play with them, with their syncopation and with their timing, the better off everything is going to sound. So I hope that those bits are helpful. I want to talk as well, again, before we get into the shapes, a little bit about the Nashville number system. I'm going to not harp on this, but I will say it's really important to understand it. There's a ton of resources on the internet. I'd be happy to answer your questions. I know that the rest of the leadership team would be happy to answer your questions about the Nashville number system. I hope that by the end of looking at all the shapes and going over what they're doing, that the Nashville number system makes sense to you. But one point I'm going to make, and this is something that you should memorize, hopefully it's in the slides that you get along with this, is the majorness or minorness of the chords that we play when we're looking at the Nashville number system. So if you open up a chord chart for any song that uses the numbering instead of the chord names, you're going to see 1s and 2s. You might see a 1/3 or a 5/7. You'll see 4s and 5s and 6s. And it's important to know that every time, all the time, when you're playing those numbers, some of them will be a major chord shape. So if you're playing in the key of C, the 1 would be a C major sound rather than a C minor sound, because we're in the key of C. A 2 and a 3 are always a minor sound. So again, in the key of C, it would be a C major, a D minor, and an E minor. That would be the 1, the 2, and the 3. The 4 and the 5 are also both major. And you'll probably feel this if you've tried looking at the number charts when you're playing the music. The 1 sounds major, the 4 sounds major, the 5 sounds major, the 6 goes back to being a minor. So again, in the key of C, you've got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and then the 6 is an F sharp. That would be an F sharp minor. And that just has to do with the way the intervals are set up. If you looked at these pieces on a piano, if you looked at the notes on a piano, you'd see that there's particular intervals or spacing between the notes. But it helps to know if you see a 6, and you know that that 6 is going to be, again, in this example for the key of C, an F sharp minor, then you know that it's going to be that minor chord rather than an F sharp major, which would not fit in well with the song. As far as the 7, that's technically supposed to be a diminished. I don't know if I've ever played a diminished. We can consider it to be a minor, and that will work out just as well. It's worth saying, though, that we're almost never going to play a full 3 chord. We're almost never going to play a full 7 chord. And again, I'll explain that more as we're going through the chord shapes. Also, you should have a sheet that says something about capo 1 and 2 and the different shapes. So we're not going to go too much detail into this. It's more of a reference as we're going through the different shapes and the different chords that we would play for those shapes. This should make sense how we can play in basically any key and never need to capo higher than 1 or 2. And then I'll include as well that when we are playing these chords, don't consider like the classical A major chord if we were playing an A. The shapes that we have here have a lot of suspended chords, which means that we're not playing that major third. I said that earlier. Rather than that major third, we're going to play the second interval or the fourth interval. And again, I'll explain that more as we're looking at the shapes. But the reason for that is because the sus2 and the sus4, which is how they're named, give more harmonics to the sound. We don't need to reinforce if it's major or minor with the third interval. We can get that done with the bass or some movement with the keys. Sometimes the vocals even will take that minor sound. What we want to do is fill the space and add harmonics so that that sound is big and epic. Another thing about the shapes, and you'll see this as we go through it, there should be an anchor position, and I'll go over what those anchor positions are that help you keep your hands in the right spot, make it easier to move around so that you don't have to stare at your fretboard and stare at your hand the whole time. You can, like we said, we want to engage with the crowd. We want to lead worship for them. And if you worship by looking at your fret hand, that's awesome. I worship by looking up and singing and trying to make eye contact with folks. And I think that it's very helpful when we look at these shapes to have that anchor position, and it makes things just a little bit easier. So that'll make more sense as we get into the shapes, and I'll point those things out. I guess a bit of encouragement. I know in the past that I have wondered how important am I up on the platform. I have played rhythm guitar almost exclusively with Sun Valley for quite a while, and I will let you know rhythm guitar is ultra, ultra, ultra important. Mechanically, it works as a bridge that brings the bass guitar, which really kind of tells the congregation where we're at, and the vocals, so that the congregation knows what to sing. The rhythm guitar really bridges that. So that's it for now. Here in about 2 seconds, you'll see we're doing some things. I'm going to pause here and set up stuff for the next thing. Thanks for listening, and we'll play some guitar stuff very shortly. All right, I want to get a quick rundown of my tone. That way you can get an idea of what I'm playing. Probably you'll want to sound as close to this as you can. It doesn't have to be exact, but this is my go-to tone for everything that I play rhythm. So I'll start off with just my dry sound. So this is me without any drive pedals on. I've got my reverb. Smidgen of delay in there. Can't really hear it. That's how I like it. I'm going to put my main drive pedal on. This is the one that I play for almost everything that I do. And if you sound like this, you're definitely in the right ballpark. So really compressed, really chewy, really saturated. That's how we can get a lot of the harmonics and a lot of the sound that we want. So again, if you're sounding something like this, you're definitely in the right ballpark. All right, up next we're going to go through the different chord shapes, so stay tuned. All right, so we're going to go through the A shape chords first. And again, we're talking about the Nashville Number system. So even though we've got chord names listed here over the chord diagram, what we want to focus on is that number. So this is a 1 chord. The A shape will fit for the key of A. It also fits for the key of A sharp, which is the same as B flat, and for the key of B. And so we want to learn these shapes rather than learn the specific chords, because when we use that Nashville Number system, if we're playing in the key of B flat, for example, then we can grab this A shape. We know that it'll work with a capo on 1, and we can use these same shapes and not have to worry about specifically what the chord name is. So let's go through these. So top string, we're going to mute that one. You can mute that with first finger here. Sometimes I'll mute it with my thumb. We don't want that one to ring through. Next string is open. Second fret on the third and fourth string. Open on the last two strings. Sounds like this. We've got that sus sound, which gives us a lot of harmonics. Sounds really nice. And let's make sure the slideshow's working. There we go. Perfect. So next up, we've got the 4 chord here, which looks like a D. Let's go through that one. Again, we're going to mute that top string. Next two strings are open. Fourth string, second fret. Fifth string, third fret. High E string open. Make sure you mute that top E string. Next, we're going to do the 5 chord. This looks just like an E chord. If you recall, the 5s are a major sound. So in E major, we don't want to have that third ringing out. So you're going to see the X there muting the G string. That's where the major third interval would be. So top string open. Next string, second and third string, second fret. Fourth string muted. I'm using my ring finger to mute that one. And then open, open. Sounds like that. So just real quick, we'll do that 1 chord again. 4 chord. 5 chord. And then next we're going to do a 6 chord. So this looks just like the 1 chord. We've got the second fret on the third and fourth string. But we're going to add first finger up on the second fret of that E string, and we're going to mute the second string. So 2, mute, and you can either use the meaty part of your first finger or maybe the tip of your second finger to mute that. So 2, mute, 2, 2, open, open. Sounds like that. So again, we'll do a 1, 2 chord in this does not have an easy transition. Some of the other shapes have an easier transition, so we'll go back and forth between the 1 and the 2 here for a sec. But the 2 looks just kind of like a B minor chord. Again, we're not too concerned with the name of it, because if we were in the key of B flat, then this would be a much different chord name. So we're going to mute that top string again. I use the tip of my first finger here as I'm barring to kind of mute that top string. If your thumbs are big enough, you can mute it with your thumb. I'm going to bar across the second fret on the second, third, fourth, and fifth string. And then we're going to have fourth fret, third string, fourth fret with your third finger. Second finger is going to be down on the third fret, fifth string. And again, that bar chord, so it sounds like this. If I go back to the 1, here's our 2. Just like so. Next up, 1/3 and a 5/7. So we mentioned earlier that we don't really play a full 3 chord. We also don't really play a full 7 chord. So instead, what we're going to do is play the third interval for our bass note. And then we're going to have basically a 1 chord underneath that. So it looks like this. Third finger, fourth fret of the second string. We're going to mute that top string, right? And then we're going to have a mini bar chord again across the second fret of the third, fourth, fifth string. So that's muted. And then that high E string, muted again. And then for the 5/7, we just move everything up. Try to get that high E ringing through. It's going to try to mute that G string, the fourth string there. So there's a 1, and there's our 3/1, and then 5/7. So now, let's play a little progression. We'll start with the 1 chord. do a 4 chord. Mute that low E string. 6 chord. 5 chord. Back down to the 4. And a 1 to end. That's nice. Let's go through all those shapes, just kind of starting from the bottom going up. So again, we'll do a 1, 2, 1 over 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 over 7, and a 1. So here's our 1. I'm going to slide up to the 2 chord. Make sure you mute that low E string. Really easy to go to the 3 chord here. Back to the 4 chord. 5 chord, 6 chord, into that 5 over 7, and back to the 1. Very good. All right, so I wanted to give an example of how we can use the Nashville Number system to make some of these different keys that we might play in a little bit easier. So let's say we've got something in the key of B flat. Those are some challenging chords to come up with. Hopefully you'd know that you'd want to put a capo on 1 and use the A shape. So that moves it up from A to A sharp, or that's the same as B flat. And so we can use these same shapes that we were going over before, just with the capo on 1, and then we don't have to change anything else. That'll make those key changes really easier for you to go through. So we'll do that same progression that we did from before, the 1, 4, 6, 5, 4, and it sounds like this. Here's the 1, 4, 6, 5, down to 4, and a 1. There we go. Hope that makes sense. All right, next up, we're going to go through the C shape. C shape, I think, has probably some of the best anchoring. That'll make sense. I want you to pay attention to what you're doing with your first finger. It's basically nothing. It stays in the same place for the whole of the shape, almost. So we'll start off with a 1 chord. I'm going to mute the top E string. I'm using the meaty part of my ring finger to do that. We're going to fret the third fret, 2nd string. I'm going to mute that next string. Again, I'm using my 3rd finger to do that. I'm going to open 4th string. 1st fret, 5th string, open 6th string. Sometimes when I'm playing my high E string, it gets a little bit pokey. So what I'll do is just kind of let my 1st finger rest down a little bit and mute that high E string a little bit. That way it doesn't come through quite so strong. So there's a 1. And let's get the slideshow going again. So next up is the 4 in the C shape, and all we're going to do is add pinky finger right underneath the ring finger. Still going to mute that top string. Now I've got a 3rd fret, 2nd string, 3rd string. We're going to mute that 4th string because that's going to be where the 3rd is, and we want to mute that 3rd. 1st finger stays in the same place. Open 6th string. Here's the 1 chord, 4 chord. Let's go to a 5 chord now. It's going to be a G shape. Doesn't look quite like a G shape like the classical one. 3rd finger goes up to the 3rd fret. That's where our G's at. It's going to mute the string right below it. That's where the 3rd interval is at. Mute, open, open. 1st finger still on the 1st fret, 5th string, open 6th string. So we'll walk through those real quick. 1, 4, 5. Every now and again, if the song sounds like it needs it, I'll take my pinky and I'll land my pinky on that 5th string, 3rd fret, right underneath my G up here with my ring finger. Cleans it up a little bit, takes some of the harmonics away. Sounds pretty good either way, I think. And then I'm going to go up to the 6. Again, that first finger staying in the same place. We're going to use the 2nd finger now. So we're going to have a mute up here on the E string, open, 2nd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, open, 1st fret, 5th string, open, E string. Let's play through all those real quick. 1, 4, 5, 6. Sounds nice. Similar to the A shape, there's not a strong anchor point for the 2 chord, but it is a position that you'll see quite frequently as we go through all of these. So we're going to have 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. We're going to mute these top 2 strings. I'll use my thumb sometimes. Open 4th string. Open 6th string. That's a really nice 2 chord. Back to our 1 chord. 2 chord. And then just like in the A shapes, we're going to have a 1/3 and a 5/7. We're going to get to use that same fingering for the 1 chord, except this time we're going to let that the low E string ring open. So open, 3rd fret, mute the 3rd string, open, 1st fret, open. And then for the 5/7, we're going to switch it up here. Mute low E string. We're using the top part of my 1st finger to do that. 2nd fret, 2nd string, open, open, 3rd fret, 5th string, open. So now we'll play through that same progression that we did from before, just using the C shape. So here's a 1, 4, 6, 5, 4. Just like so. And then we'll go ahead and play through all those chords, 1, 2, 1/3, a 4, 5, 6, 5/7, back to a 1. There's our 1. 2 does not have the anchor. 1/3 is going to look just like the 1 chord. Let that low E play. 4. Remember to mute that low E. 5. Back to the 6. 5/7 also no anchor. Back down to the 1. And I won't show it here, but we can do that same thing with the capo. If we wanted to play in D flat, we would slide everything up. That puts us in a D flat key. Doesn't happen very often, but you know, every now and again, somebody wants to sing in D flat. So you can do it, capo on 1, and use the C shape. All right, next is the D shape. D shape I think sounds really awesome. Lots of open strings, really meaty tones come out of the D shape. So let's get started. For the 1 chord, we're going to mute that top low E string. Next string's open. 3rd string's open. 4th string, 2nd fret. 5th string, 3rd fret. And then open E. Got a really strong anchor position for the D shapes as well. Let's go to the 4, anchor finger is that 3rd finger. So we're going to move the 2nd finger up to 3rd fret on the low E string. It's going to mute that next string, open, 3rd fret of 5th string. And we're going to mute that E again, that high E. So again, if we go back to the 1, to the 4, 5. Again, we've got that anchor on the 5th string, 3rd fret. We're gonna have fingers 1 and 2, kind of like that A shape that we did before. You can see this is an A sus4. So I'm gonna mute the low E, open, 2nd fret, 3rd and 4th string, 3rd fret, 5th string. Let's go ahead and mute that high E string again. Sounds like that. So we're gonna do a 1, 4, 5. Let's go up to the 6. You're going to see that all we have to do is take the 1st finger, move it up a string, and we're going to go ahead and let that 3rd string ring open. So mute the 1st string, 2nd fret, 2nd string, open, 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd fret, 5th string. We're going to keep that high E muted. We can go through all those again. So 1, 4, 5, 6. Sounds just like that. For the D shape, we also get to keep some of these anchor strings on the 2. So we're going to go open, 2nd fret, 2nd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string. We're going to mute that G string. So that's going to make a not happy sound if we play that. 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 5th string. That's our anchor string. And then we can go ahead and play this one open on the highest and lowest strings. It's a nice minor sounding 2. Go back to the 1. Up to that 2. There we go. And then just like the rest, got a 1/3 and a 5/7. Again, anchor positions hold through really well here. So let's play the 1/3. We're going to take 1st finger, put it up on the low E string, mute that 2nd string, open. And we've got our anchor positions on the 4th and 5th string. Mute that top string. I'm using kind of the meaty part of my index finger on the bottom string to get that mute. And then the 5/7 can be a little bit complicated. We can keep our anchor position with the 2nd and 3rd fingers, and then use pinky finger to come up here to the 4th fret on the 5th string. So open, 4, open. And we've got a anchor there. Or, if it's a little more comfortable, you can use 1st and 2nd finger to get that anchor position, and then 3rd finger up there. That's right. Let's play them all in together so you can hear them. There's our 1. Up to the 4. 6. Down to the 5. And the 4 again. This shape is really nice for walking up and for walking down. So we'll do this 1, 2, 1/3, 4, 5, 6, 5/7, and 1 again. So there's our 1, 2, 1/3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to switch my fingers to the 5/7. And go back down to the 1. Again, we can use that pinky to get the 5/7. Just like so. All right, next up, we're going to work through the E shape. I think E shape is probably my favorite shape. The sounds, I think, are just the best as far as the tones that you make. So let's get started. So for the one chord, we're going to have low E open. We're going to bar, MIDI bar across the 2nd fret on the A string. We're going to add the 4th finger on that 4th fret of the 4th string, and then open bottom 2 strings. Sounds like that. And let's get the slideshow going again. For chord, all we're going to do is lift that bar off. We're going to put the 1st finger down on the 2nd fret 3rd string, mute that low E string, open 2nd string, 2nd fret 3rd string. Anchor finger is going to be that pinky over here. It's going to stay in the same place for quite a while, and then open, open. So again, we'll go back to the 1, 4, 5. We're just going to add a couple of fingers. So we're going to mute that low E string. That's happening with the top of my 1st finger. 2nd fret, 4th fret, 4th fret, open, open. So go down to the 4 again. Muting that low E string. 5. And 6 is really nice. So all we got to do is switch the 3rd finger and the 1st finger. So we're going to move that ring finger up to the 4th fret. 1st finger is going to go back down to where it was for the 4 chord, and we're going to still keep that low E muted. So mute, 4, 2, 4, open, open. So we'll do that 1 chord, 4, 5, 6, just like that. 2 chord gets a little bit weird. We've got a couple of options. You can play it again with that same anchor position of the 1st and 4th finger, except instead of having your 1st finger here on the 2nd fret, you're going to move that up to the low E string, 2nd fret. You're going to take your 2nd finger and put it where your 1st finger was. Sounds like this. So we've got 2nd fret, mute, 2nd fret. So that same 4, open, open. If that's a little bit of a stretch for you, you can play it this other way. We did this before where we've got 2nd fret, 1st finger. We're going to mute still that 2nd string, and then 2nd fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 4th string. So if that's a little bit easier to grab onto, you can do that. And then 1/3, 5/7. 1/3 is pretty easy. We get to keep that same anchor position. So we'll go back to 4th finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string, 4, 4, 4. 1st finger is going to be back on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. We're going to put 3rd finger, ring finger, up here on the 4th fret, and then we're going to mute that 2nd string. So 3, mute, 2nd fret, 4th fret, open. And for the 5/7, that looks a lot like this. We've done this one before for a 3/1, except we're going to slide it up 2 frets. Let's get that in the camera. There we go. So we're way up here on the 6th fret, so we're going to mute still that low E string. Doing that with the meaty part of my ring finger. 6th fret, 4th fret, and then mute that top one. So let's play through everything. Back down to our 1, 4, 6, 5, 4, and back to the 1. And then we'll walk up of them just like we did before. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you mute that low E string. 5. Easy switch to the 6. We're going to slide up here in a sec for the 5/7. And then back down to the 1. And this one works really well for the key of F as well. You just put your capo on the 1st fret. All the other things stay the same. Sounds really good for the key of F. I used to not like playing the key of F, and now I think it's one of my favorite keys. All right, our last shape is the G shape. This one's a pretty simple one too. It's got some really good anchor positions as well. So let's get started. So first, one shape. We're going to have the 2nd finger. We've played this chord before. 2nd finger up on the low E string. That's going to mute. 2nd string, open, open. 3rd finger on the 3rd fret. 5th string. We're going to go and mute that top E string as well. 4. It's very simple. All we're going to do is move that 2nd finger down to the 2nd string. Going to mute that high or the low E string. You can use your thumb to do that, or the meaty part of your 2nd finger. So mute, 3rd fret, open, open, 3rd fret, and we're going to keep that E muted. So 1, 4, 5. We played this one before. So we're going to mute that low E, open, open, 2, 3. We're going to keep that high E muted. So again, we go to the 1, 4, 5. And every now and again, I use my 1st finger instead of my 2nd finger, depending on what I'm doing. Either one works. 6. Open, and the low E, 2nd fret, 2nd fret. I want to mute that G string, 3rd fret, open. Let's play through all those again. 1, 4, 5, 6. Sounds really nice. 2, we've played this one. Also don't have a good anchor position for this 2 chord, but we've played it before, so it should be familiar. So mute, open, 2nd fret, open, 1st fret, open. So here's our 1, to a 2, just like that. 3 and, sorry, the 1/3 and the 5/7. Again, we have played these. They should be familiar. So we're going to mute low E string, 2nd fret, open, open, 3rd fret, open. And then 5/7, we've played this one also. 1st finger on the E string, mute the 2nd string, open, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, mute that high E string. So we'll play through the same progression, starting with the 1. 4, 6, 5, back to 4, 1, 4, 6, 5, 4. Really easy to move around those. And then we'll do the walk up again. 1, 2, 1/3, 4, 5, 6, 5/7, and a 1. So we start here with a 1. 2 doesn't have an anchor, but it's familiar. Same with the number 3. Played that one before. Back to the 4. 5. 6. 5/7 we've played before. And to the 1. And there we go. That covers all of the shapes. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you're able to take this and use it. I hope that it makes playing for you easier. I hope that you feel more confident with what you're playing so that you can bring a more excellent thing to the platform. You can interact with the crowd more. You can interact with the musicians on the platform with you more, and so that you can worship more and not worry about what you're doing with your hands or how it sounds. Thank you very much. We'll catch you next time.